Now, by any chance that you're watching this video and you have kids with you, these are 4 accounts that you must have just to make things straight, all right? Let me repeat. This video is about 4 accounts that you must have if you have kids. All right, and I'm not gonna waste any time. 15 minutes on this video. Make sure that you like the video. Make sure that you subscribe. Why? Because I upload a video each and every day, and leave me a comment on the comment section. And let's get into the business now. The very first account that you must have if you have kids with you, for the sake of things running smoothly. By the way, remember one thing: nobody knows exactly how the tomorrow it is, including me. Nobody knows nothing about that. Okay, so what we do is to control the controllables. I bet you understand that. To control the controllables, you control the thing that you can humanly control and leave the rest that you cannot do anything about them. Are we together up that particular point? Now, see, the very first account that you should have as far as you having a kids are concerned is the investment account or stroke the retirement plan. Probably you're watching this video and you're young, at your 25, 27, 28 or something of sort. You don't have any plan as far as the retirement is concerned. You're not investing, you're not safeguarding that particular day when you'll be old. You don't have the strength to work and what have you. So you're just a typical African who, and me and you knows this better, because you know what, some or most of the parents that usually have, they usually have the kids in the name of having those kids for the retirement plan. And by the way, if you want to believe this, back then and still to date, some of the people do believe that, hey, you know what, having many kids is so good, it's nice, because when you grow old, like, you know, that's a red flag in a parent. If you have ever heard your parent talking about that particular like kind of a language, that should actually be alarm to you. It tells you a lot. These parents, they usually be, you know, back then during our 1940s, 30s, and 20s, and even 1800, having a lot of kids was actually seemed as if it was what do we call it? You know, a wealth and what have you. And by the way, get me right. Personally, I love kids. Kids are great. They are blessings. But at the same time, with economic times and the way things are moving, you need to plan yourself so that you don't become a baggage or a burden to your kids. Kids, again, I agree. And totally, by the way, you can view them as wealth. Depends. Okay? But for me, I view them as blessings. But the fact is, there are people who totally rely on them as their retirement plan. They never invest. They do nothing. They just buy chunks of land. Then, of course, those lands are not even generating any asset. And again, I'm not saying bad lands are bad, but you need to be informed. When you grow old, end up with assets that are generating cash flow. Don't end up with just assets that are not generating anything. Just be very cautious. You know, back then when people used to have a lot of kids, and people even used to have a lot of, you know, those kind of things, you know, they had chunks of lands, they had flocks, they had herds of cattle and what have you, so they can just do exactly that. Nowadays, things have changed. People don't even have a place where they can even call a home. And there you are, you're having. Anyway, it's good to make sure that at least you have an investment for the purposes of the retirement plan. And I'm not saying that kids should not have, you know, I'm giving a lot of disclaimers on this video, because you know, there are people who don't even listen anything. They just say don't have kids as your retirement plan. Oh, you should not say that. They don't even reason, they don't even think, they just controlled by emotion, they just go ahead and comment anything. It's good to just listen between the words, yeah, before you make any comment. All right. Now, hope you've understood each other. Make sure that at least you have an investment. By the way, before we even go to the next one, how many of you here feel like, well, you do love your parents, they are great, they are good, but you feel like, if they could have done something a little bit, not even for me, but for them, so that they can give me a breathability allowance, I'll be able to do some things, because they are all over my neck and my shoulders and what have you. But anyway, we do love them, we have to help them, but you feel like they should have done a little bit of a better way compared to that what they are doing. Okay, again, nobody has a full control of their life. Maybe they tried, they never worked out, it never worked out, but just try. It's good to end up you knowing that you tried the level best as you can. By the way, don't grow old one day and be like, you know what, Joseph, I wish I listened to a certain young guy during our time used to be called Joseph and what have you. Don't do that, okay? Let's go to the next point, or the next account is the account called emergency account. Well, should I call it emergency fund account? I don't think this one needs any introduction. If you have kids, I mean, seriously, if you don't have emergency fund account, like, yo, I mean, really? there's some points that you don't even need to explain. Obviously, you know where I'm heading. Of course, because if you have kids, honestly, you need to have this emergency fund account whereby, you can be able to handle for your things, your utilities, your house rent, your water, your whatever. Like, things are actually in order. And the emergency fund account, this is simply where you keep that money that, can sustain you just in case maybe you get fired from their job, and God forbid, and such kind of a thing. So having that money set aside, it's always good to make sure that at least in case for the rainy day, you are covered. And I'm going to give myself a very simple example, and I'm going to use myself as an example. For those who have been with me for quite a long time, they know I used to paint. I used to be a painter and what have you. And I remember back then, of course, these are unpredictable or irregular income, whereby you can't tell when you'll get the job and when you don't have it. For those who are doing those kind of job can relate to what I'm talking about. Now, what I used to do is that the moment I get the money, I never used to be okay, when I say I never used to be excited, not that I wasn't happy, I was, but there are people who get excited once they get the money to a point of whereby they even misuse that cash, and then the next minute or the next 2 or 3 days, they are broke. So what I used to do when I get the money, because I didn't know if tomorrow or the other day I'll get the job, so I used to pile that chunk of cash. I just piled it, and then some of the friends whom I used to have those particular times, then we hang around with them, maybe looking for a job, and then they're arguing from the point, I don't even have the money to eat for today, I don't even have anything. And maybe we're in a job, maybe let's say like 3 days ago, and for me, I know I have like 6,000 or 7,000 or what have you, as some of the amount of money, I have them somewhere, just in case anything happens. Okay, because for them, what they used to do, and I used to talk to them, but when it comes to money, it's a very emotive issue. You cannot advise anybody. There are some souls even today, they believe that they cannot be advised. And of course, we appreciate that, diversity, and of course, the democracy. I really respect democracy and how they view it. There's somebody who approached me right to my eyes, yeah? And he happens to come from where I live, and he told me, Joseph, nobody can advise me about my money. And I knew definitely this guy is attacking me. But I've ever known that we usually wrestle not with flesh and blood, but the principalities and the rulers of darkness, because the life we live in is more spiritual than it is physical. Or don't get me preaching, but that it is what it is. Okay, so I used to have that money set aside, no matter how small it is, but I knew at least this one can actually handle 1, 2, 3 and such kind of a thing. So it is always good to make sure that at least you have that cash. Even if I didn't have kids, but I just used to save, even up to date. I just set aside a little bit amount of money, so that at least, you never know, I can even cater for myself and such kind of a thing. So it is good to make sure that at least you have an emergency fund set aside for the sake of such eventuality. All right, so let's get to the next point. The next one is the education plan, or the kids education plan. All right, hang on. I did not say education policy, because you might be like, oh, Joseph, you told us those policies are not good, but I did not say education policy. I said education plan. Policy is one of the areas where people use for the sake of their kids. For me, I said, for me, whether you're going to take this an advice or not, for me, I really don't like those kids' education policy. I would rather invest by myself. I would rather even pick, let's say, a money market fund, a whole chunk of it, and say, hey, you know what, whatever I'm throwing in that particular investment, that's for my kid, okay? Because I'm going to get good returns. I'm going to get compound interest. If, let's say, you get your policy for 12 years, I get my investment plan for, 12 years. Maybe say you pick an education policy, I pick an MMF, and I'm picking MMF as an example, because, of course, you cannot just take kids' money for the school and to put it somewhere where it's a bit risky. No, this is a very, 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 very sensitive affair. All right, so you put that money somewhere, you're going to be getting a good returns and what have you. By the way, you have to understand this. There are two things here. There's something called that what makes you money, and that what safeguards your money. Insurances, what mainly they do is to safeguard your money. Insurances don't make you money. They safeguard that what makes you money, or the insurers that makes you money. So it's good to understand and differentiate those two terms, okay? So it is good to understand that. So have that plan for the education of that particular kid. You'll be like, you know what, you can have like 2 or 3 MMFs, or even 4. There are people even have 5, okay? Again, pick that what works for you. Say that particular thing, that one money market fund, they are gonna dedicate that particular thing for the sake of the kids' education throughout his period of time or her period of time. So that is exactly what you do. So get an education plan for that particular kid on how you're gonna be, helping that particular kid as far as the education is concerned. So that one is very sensitive, and make it, very dear to you. All right, so let's get into the next one, or should I say the last one? The last one is the kids investment plan. What is the difference? Most of the people, by the way, not even in Kenya, but globally, people just invest on the education of their kids. They never think about investing for their kids. By the way, how many of you are watching this video and you feel like if your parents maybe did something, you know, like maybe they started an MMF, because MMF didn't start like yesterday. Well, I know I'm using MMF as an, okay, fine, let me use stocks, you know, because people were saying, oh, you Joseph, you're now becoming ambassador of MMF and what have you. I just love the thing because of the way, you know, liquidity and what have you. I just love the thing. Now, see, you just feel like if your parents maybe engaged, because something like stocks on shares, they started even 1910, they were still there. Maybe you could have bought some few shares for you, maybe even if it's a little as they can, you know, and then up to date, maybe when you hit your, say, 21, because I still don't believe somebody at 18, they are still matured to inherit some things, or maybe, you know, you get what I'm saying? Maybe at 21, 22, 23 there, and then they tell you, hey, this has been yours and we invested on this. Of course, after coaching you all throughout, probably you could have at least have a foundational start, you know, rather than where you are right now trying to, you know, including me, I didn't get anything of the sort. So anyway, it is what it is, but it is good for you because you're living in the era where there is an existence of good Joseph and information and YouTube and what have you. So you can just pick, say, you know, one single CDS account and be like, you know what, I'm going to be buying an X shares of a particular company. And those shares, I'm going to accumulate them as much as I can. And that particular company, I'm looking forward into having my kids inherit it. For example, let's say you're not wealthy. Let's say you're at your 40 or 50. You don't know when maybe you're going to get that fine cash or something of sort. So you can just dedicate on be like, you know what, for the next 10 or 15 or even 20 years, if you're in a position to be buying those shares and educate them for your kids, and one day they can inherit that. And yeah, it is what it is. Because by the way, I'm looking forward into the era and days where, and by the way, if you can get this, if you get this message, keep it for you, and one day you remember this. I'm looking forward into one day where people will be leaving their YouTube channel, their TikTok channel, their Instagram accounts, their whatever the thing it is, to their kids, because they will be source of income. Okay, absolutely. Just say, you know what, last YouTube channel of mine with 300 million or a billion people followers, whatever, I leave it to so and such kind of a thing. Or maybe you get what I'm saying? Because now the era of living, like, for example, let's talk an example of somebody like Mark Zuckerberg, the owner of the Meta. What that guy gonna leave for the kids, assuming that he's gonna leave for the kids? What is Meta? It's just an app. He writes a will and says who gets where or what or something of sort, right? So it is good to understand that the days are changing and the years are changing. So it is good to have an investment plan for your kid as much as you're educating them. Me and you, we agree unanimously. Nowadays, we have less of jobs. All right, especially if you come from Africa. All right, just appreciate that fact. I know it's very hard for parents to swallow it, and even the guys who are in universities and what have you, because I never have a problem with education all the way from, say, kindergarten to high school. But above high school, just know that. Just know that. So it's always good to have some extra, another plan, just in case things goes south. We learned it in a very hard way. I hope you never get yourself in that kind of a situation. But anyway, it is what it is. So have an investment plan for your kids and make sure that you take care of themselves in those manner. Am I perfect on this? No, I'm not perfect. Do I know everything about life? Do I have the manual of life? No, I do not. I just have one or two, three things that I can share with you. We call them the controlling, the controllables, and then you're going to land in a safer hands. That's good, Joseph, for you. And by the way, if you're watching me for the first time, make sure that you hit that like button, make sure that you subscribe, and you leave me a comment on the comment section, because just like an iron sharpens another iron, so do we learn from each other. By the way, don't forget, my number is always on the description of this specific video. Go grab it, give me a call, let's talk business, because that's what we do in this channel. This is Good Joseph. See you the next time.